Afraid of flying, yes.
Yeah?
I've never been comfortable on an airplane, ever.
Really?
I've had to do it a lot in order to get to.
The lights went dim, and the large room fell completely silent. At 85 years old, Martin Sheen slowly lifted his head and looked straight ahead. After a short pause, he took a deep breath and said something he had never shared in public before. He was about to name 6 actors he hated working with. His voice was calm but serious. The first name he mentioned was Clint Eastwood. Sheen explained that Clint was cold and distant on set. He didn't smile, didn't talk much, and didn't seem interested in connecting with anyone. According to Sheen, working with Clint felt more like being in a military camp than on a movie set. Clint gave orders, stayed in control, and didn't care how others felt. There was no warmth, no real teamwork, and no moments of shared creativity. It was all business all the time, and that made the experience extremely unpleasant. The second name Sheen brought up was Robert Duvall. He started by saying Duvall was a great actor with strong talent, but that didn't make working with him any easier. Sheen described their time together during the filming of Apocalypse Now as very difficult. According to Sheen, Duvall was way too intense. He took every scene so seriously that it created stress on set. He was also very arrogant, acting like he knew more than everyone else, even the director. Sheen said Duvall never wanted to compromise or listen to ideas. If someone disagreed with him, he would get irritated or ignore them completely. There was no room for discussion or collaboration. Sheen felt like he was constantly walking on eggshells. What should have been a powerful shared experience turned into a battle of egos. Although their scenes were iconic behind the camera, it was tense and uncomfortable most of the time. The third actor Martin Sheen mentioned was Burt Reynolds. Right away, Sheen said that working with Burt was a challenge from day one. He called him a narcissist, someone who cared too much about himself and not enough about the people around him. Sheen said Burt had a habit of making sarcastic jokes that were meant to put people down. He would laugh, but others often felt disrespected or mocked. According to Sheen, Burt made the work environment feel toxic. Instead of being supportive or encouraging, he treated others like they were beneath him. Sheen said Reynolds liked attention and often tried to steal the spotlight, even if it hurt the scene. His focus was always on how he looked or how the audience would react to him. This made it very hard to work as a team. Sheen felt that Reynolds didn't care about the quality of the work, only about feeding his own ego. Then came a name that surprised everyone in the room: James Caan. Sheen paused for a second before explaining why Caan made the list. He said that while Caan had a strong presence on screen, off-screen he was extremely difficult. Sheen remembered several verbal fights with him on different film sets. Caan had a temper and didn't hold back when he was upset. Sheen described him as someone who didn't like being told what to do. He often ignored directors and refused to follow instructions if he didn't agree with them. Sheen said Caan could also be very disrespectful to his fellow actors, interrupting scenes or criticizing others in front of the crew. It felt like being around a volcano that could explode at any moment. Nobody felt relaxed when Caan was on set. Sheen said the constant tension made it hard to focus or enjoy the creative process. Even though Sheen was clearly still affected by those past experiences, he didn't raise his voice or try to get revenge with his words. He simply told his truth. The audience listened closely, shocked by the names being revealed. It wasn't about gossip. It was about years of silence finally breaking. For Sheen, it seemed like this moment was important. After decades in the industry, he wanted to clear the air. His words were steady, but you could tell these memories had stayed with him for a long time. Sheen wasn't trying to cancel anyone. He was just explaining what it felt like to work with actors who didn't respect the process or the people involved. These were lessons he had carried throughout his career, and now he was finally ready to talk about them. It wasn't easy, but it felt necessary for him to be honest. As he finished talking about James Caan, Sheen took another deep breath. The room stayed quiet. No one interrupted, and no one laughed. Everyone knew they had just heard something rare, an old Hollywood veteran speaking from the heart without holding back. He didn't seem angry, just tired of pretending everything had always been perfect. Sheen sat back slightly, his expression calm but thoughtful. He knew what he had said would make headlines, but it didn't matter. What mattered to him was the truth. These were people he had worked with, shared sets with, but never truly connected with. Now, at this point in his life, he didn't want to hide how difficult that had been. And with that, he looked forward, ready to name the next actor on his list. The room was still quiet. People were stunned by what Martin Sheen had already shared. Without changing his serious tone, he continued. He said, "The fifth name is Steve McQueen. For many, McQueen was a movie legend, cool, confident, and unforgettable. But to Martin Sheen, working with him had been one of the most difficult experiences in his entire career." Sheen explained that McQueen wasn't very open with people. He kept to himself most of the time and rarely made an effort to talk or connect. On set, he was extremely competitive. Sheen said that McQueen always needed to be the center of attention, even if it meant stepping on others. Every scene turned into a personal competition. He would try to outshine whoever he was working with. Instead of building scenes together, McQueen treated every moment like a battle for the spotlight. That attitude made the work tense, uncomfortable, and exhausting. Sheen continued to explain how hard it was to work with McQueen, not just because he wanted to stand out, but because he never really supported anyone else. He would question other actors' performances, interrupt takes if he didn't like something, and even push for script changes that gave him more screen time. According to Sheen, it was like McQueen couldn't accept anyone else sharing the audience's attention. Directors tried to manage it, but his status made it hard to challenge him. Sheen said that even when the cameras weren't rolling, McQueen acted like everything was a contest. Who had more lines, who got more close-ups, who got more fan mail. It wasn't about teamwork. It was about proving he was better. Sheen said this constant battle made filming stressful and tiring. Instead of enjoying the process, everyone felt like they were just trying to survive McQueen's need to dominate every moment on set. After a long pause, Sheen finally moved to the last name. He said this one was the hardest to talk about. "George C. Scott," he said quietly. Everyone in the room seemed surprised. Scott was known for powerful acting roles and a strong screen presence, but Sheen saw a different side of him. According to Sheen, Scott was a backstage tyrant. He had a strong personality and wasn't afraid to use it to control people around him. Sheen said Scott would yell at crew members, criticize actors harshly, and ignore what directors were trying to achieve. It wasn't passion, it was intimidation. People were scared to make mistakes around him. Sheen said that Scott had no patience and no interest in collaboration. His presence sucked the energy out of the room. Instead of building a good creative environment, he made everyone nervous. Even though his acting was respected, working with him was emotionally draining and often upsetting. Sheen described moments when Scott would take over the entire set. If he didn't agree with how a scene was written or directed, he would complain loudly and even refuse to shoot until changes were made. He didn't care if it delayed production or made things harder for everyone else. Sheen said it often felt like Scott was trying to break people down, especially younger actors who were still learning. He would interrupt rehearsals, mock performances, or just walk away if things didn't go his way. This kind of behavior created fear and silence. No one wanted to speak up, not even the director. Sheen admitted that Scott's talent was real, but said talent without respect can be dangerous. He remembered days when the cast barely talked to each other, not because they didn't want to, but because Scott's attitude had shut everything down. It wasn't acting anymore, it was surviving. Even though those memories were painful, Sheen didn't speak with hate. He looked calm and honest. He said that working with people like McQueen and Scott shaped him in unexpected ways. "They were not my friends, but they were my teachers," he said. Sheen explained that those conflicts taught him more than any Hollywood friendship ever did. He learned how to stay calm under pressure, how to hold on to his values, and how to protect his love for acting, even in difficult situations. It wasn't about revenge, it was about growing. He said he used to feel anger toward those men, but not anymore. Time had changed that. He didn't forget what happened, but he stopped letting it hurt him. For Sheen, Those hard moments helped him understand what kind of actor and what kind of person he really wanted to be. As Sheen finished sharing his story, the room stayed quiet. No one clapped, no one moved. It was a heavy moment, but not a sad one. Sheen had finally spoken out about something he had carried for decades. He wasn't trying to get attention or cause drama. He just wanted to tell the truth. He had faced difficult personalities, strong egos, and toxic behavior, but instead of breaking him, it shaped him. "These men showed me what it means to carry the weight of an ego on set," he said. "Hating them was part of my journey to becoming who I am." His voice was steady. There was no bitterness left, just a clear memory of what he went through. He had lived every scene, even the hard ones behind the camera. And now, for the first time, he was ready to share those scenes with the world.